Okay, whilst we're live.
Right, well, nobody seems to be going to introduce me, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Ros Haywood, and tonight we're going to be looking at various ways you can get online with your one-place study. I apologize in advance for the fact that you can probably see my PowerPoint program rather than beautiful slides on screen, but we're having some technical hiccups tonight. So, this is one of my favorite subjects. Are you online? What we're going to cover tonight is why. Why do you want to be online? What's the difference between blogs and websites? Where do you go to put something online anyway? WordPress, Facebook, FamilySearch, Wikitree, and my personal favorite, Blogger. And at the end, I'll show you how to take a Blogger blog, turn it into a website, and put a blog tab in the background, which sounds
Sounds
very
exciting.
strange. Okay, why? We'll start off with why. Why do you want to be online? Ask yourself if any of these statements actually apply to you. You wanted to help other people. Did you think your transcriptions might be useful to someone else? You wanted others to help you. Have you heard of the phrase cousin bait, where somebody's looking for an ancestor who lived in your area and finds you and your site? Or, well, everybody else is doing it, so perhaps I'd better. Can you think of any other reasons? Anybody who's looking and listening?
I think now that, maybe it's a way of some chance in the future having a better chance of preserving it, or at least perhaps finding another home for the information if you can no longer continue, things like that.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes, preservation. I hadn't thought of that one. All right then.
I think it also really helps, I don't know, I found it really helpful in order to do, say, blogs or website. You really kind of have to pull the story together in a way that others can understand. And I find that really helpful in trying to get my own thoughts organized and trying to fill in gaps so that I can offer a coherent story.
Yes, I also found that I was taking a sort of scattergun approach and jumping here, there, and everywhere in my research, but having a blog focused me on one thing at a time, which was actually rather necessary. Right, the difference between blogs and websites. Is there one? I mean, nowadays, blogs are so beautifully crafted that you often can't tell that you're on a blog, especially if the owner has pointed their domain at the blog, so you don't see the word blog anywhere. So you can't really tell unless you look at the bottom of the page and it says proudly hosted by WordPress.com or something like that. So a blog can be an online journal of your researches. Daily, if you're that keen. It can also be local history or genealogy trivia. When back in April, when the A to Z challenge was on, which was oh dear, something's happening on my computer. Which the society participated in as well. It's where you had to make a blog post as for each day, each letter of the alphabet, which was fun. So I chose my blog and I blogged about genealogy trivia. And that really piqued a lot of people's interest. People keep talking in my ear. On a website, you have more of what I'm getting feedback and people talking in my ear and all sorts of fun stuff.
I don't think anybody's talking, but we've got a couple of people joined in.
Yes.
Welcome, Wesley and Alice.
Things keep going bling in my ear.
Yeah,
Oh.
keep going, Ros.
Okay. A website, you have more control and more flexibility because you can put trees up there. Say you're doing a one-place study and there's several families who are always in your one place. It's nice sometimes to put a little tree up, but you can't really do that with a blog. You can do it with a website though. I expect most of you have heard of the Next Generation or TNG. That's one way of putting lots of trees up. Or Genie Alone is another way of putting trees up. Let's go. Come along, come along. Right. Here's an example of a website. It's actually my website. And it's just a page. It's the South Pool page. You can see I put text on there and links on there and tables on there. And on other pages there are images, that sort of thing. There are sites which are even flashier than mine, much flashier than mine, but they're a bit too far beyond me actually. But there are also sites done by WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get, and that's more along the lines of drag and drop, which some people find much easier. My site is coded by hand, which actually I loved because I'm a geek. I like these sort of things.
I think you'll find that Kim and I are both geeks as well.
All right, then where can you go to put things up online? You can go to WordPress or Blogger, WordPress.org on your own site. Wikitree, funnily enough, although it's a family tree, it has a facility for one-place studies as well. Even the FamilySearch wiki has individual pages for individual places that you can adopt, and they become part of your one-place study. You can even use Facebook if you're on Facebook. Personally, I also use something called 50webs.com or 1.com, but there are thousands out there. You really have to just look around and see what's good for the price, what's, possible for your pocket, really. Free is my favorite word, but but I'm finding that a lot of companies, although they offer free web space, and you think, great, it also means you can't do this and you can't do that, and unless, of course, you pay.
Which ones of these do you have to pay for, Ros?
I have to pay for the very last one, 1.com. Now, this is a word of warning about WordPress, so doubtless if there are any WordPress aficionados out there, they'll hate me forever. But I wish someone had told me this before I shelled out money. WordPress.com, that's the one where you go to WordPress and you get yourself a blog and it's free, and they go on about how it's free, wonderfully free. But once you're there, if you want things to match, like I had the merch blog, that one of my one name studies, with a red header, and I wanted red text for the headings and vivid black text for the text. But I couldn't do it unless I paid. So where's this free business? If you have your very own domain, like I had merch.org, in order to point it towards my free WordPress blog, I had to pay. And I had thought, you see, I'll get a blog and then I'm going to pay the money for something called Roots Persona, which I'm going to use with it. Except you can't, because WordPress.com doesn't allow third-party software. Not that they tell you before you get your blog and start paying out money to customize it. So I was rather cross about all that. Now, WordPress.org is free, again, but it's software that you download. So you have to have your own web space already. So you might have paid out money for the web space. And then you can just use it like any website.
So would it be a separate website to your own, or does it bolt on somehow?
It sort of bolts on, if you like. I mean, the website that you've got, say, is just a parcel of land, and WordPress.org is all the grass. And you can build on it. You can build a house on it, or a pigsty on it, or a barn on it, or something like that.
Susie, it's a content management system.
Right.
Right.
So it's going to basically give you the environment to build your pages, put your images in, put, your blogs, whatever you want on it.
Yes.
But you do have to have your own web space first.
Because I know that our SOP's website is
Yeah.
WordPress based.
Uh-huh.
But I was just wondering, could I bolt on a section onto my own website that already exists that isn't WordPress? Just for the blog side of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I should think so. Yes, and some
Do it.
some people will actually archive a little amount of space for you, especially for a WordPress blog. You have to check with them and see what they say. But when people talk about, oh, I've got a WordPress site, what they mean is, I've got a WordPress.org site. That's where, oh, I can do this and I can attach that and I can use this app on it. Only if it's a WordPress.org site of your own. Not if it's a WordPress.com. And I wish that people would be a little clearer instead of just saying, I've got a WordPress site, because there are two different flavors of WordPress. Facebook. Right. Many of us are on Facebook these days. If you're not, I think it's a good idea because it allows you to keep in touch with relatives in Australia or something like that. And it's good for sending baby pictures and things like that. It's a wonderful way of keeping in touch. But your one place study can also have a page, or perhaps a group. It really depends on what you want. If it's a page, it'll be public. Anybody can see it, anybody can like it, or totally ignore it. It's usually a bit more official. It's for people, celebrities, brands, companies. A group is more where a bunch of you get together and talk about things, talk about something you're interested in. Like my Star Trek fan club has a group, because we're all interested in Star Trek. Nobody else would be. Well, they wouldn't be interested in the sort of things we talk about. And if you have a one-place study group, perhaps you can put up some photos if they're outside of copyright, and ask questions, put queries up there. These are just thoughts of different things you can do, because a lot of times people just don't know what to do and where to go. How
And
about how about FamilySearch?
Roz,
Yes.
just a minute on that Facebook. Susie, this goes back to, this is something I've been thinking about quite a bit, and I'd like to know what you guys think.
Mhm.
My experience, I love WordPress, actually. I think it's wonderful. And it's absolutely simple when to set up a blog within your WordPress site. That's just as simple as setting up a page. But I think my own feeling is that the day of blogging through my website is kind of past, in that Facebook does a far better job for blog type or things that you're going to continually be updating, for blog type discussions, for attracting people, for having lots more people on it. So I do still have blog pages on my website, but they might be things like something like for an A to Z challenge, or something like, say, adding stories about people every few weeks or things like that. But I'm really quite reliant on the Facebook groups, actually, of others, to get contacts, and to have those sorts of discussions, and to also help attract traffic to the website. I don't know what you guys' experience has been, but I just find the comparison of how many people are coming through and adding comments to website blogs that I've seen is a fraction of what the Facebook pages are getting.
That's a good idea. Perhaps we could discuss that a bit further at the end of all these slides, because that sounds like something we would like to talk about, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right, FamilySearch. Go back to FamilySearch. This is actually fantastic because it means you don't have to do very much at all. I don't know if you've ever been to the FamilySearch wiki. When you go on to familysearch.org and there's that line at the top, that's let's see. Yes, family tree, memories, search, indexing. If you click on the search, and the drop-down menu that comes up, wiki is at the very bottom, then you can drill down through the country that you're interested in, through the county that you're interested in, right down to your place. And if it hasn't been adopted, you can adopt it. And it will cover all sorts of things, like you can see in the little box. Sorry about the blurriness, not quite sure what happened there. It's really just a list of links. But they have got what they call a sandbox, where if you wanted to add something that wasn't already there, you could try it out in the sandbox until you get it right, and then you can put it on the page proper. But once you've got the page, you're online. It's a wonderful idea. Right. Wikitree. Has everybody heard of Wikitree?
No.
Wow. Wikitree is a little bit like FamilySearch in that they want to create one big family tree. It's not like Ancestry where each person has their own little tree. This one is one great big old tree. And now Jacob Ball that you can see there, he's my third great grandfather. And I've put in all sorts of details about him and where and when and all that. And where you can see the red arrow is a link to the South Pool One Place study. Now this goes on a little bit further, and you see there's loads of people. They each have their own individual page, and on their own individual page, which is called a profile, you can put your link to the one place study of your one place, which is another way, I think, of providing cousin bait. Because then if somebody comes through to a profile that they're interested in because of their ancestors, they might see, oh look, they're part of the Southpool One Place study. I wonder what happens when I click on this link. So they click on it, and that's when they come through to you. And you've also got a page linked to your One Place study where you can put things like pictures and stories, that sort of thing, as opposed to just plain profiles of ancestors.
Do you have to load a GEDCOM to it? How do you load it, Ross?
Well, you can do a GEDCOM, but I wouldn't recommend it. Actually, I would recommend doing it one by one, just because there's so many different things that can go wrong with a GEDCOM that don't get transferred with a GEDCOM, and suddenly you find yourself in a great big mess of sort of 30,000 people and you have no sources anywhere, no media, no nothing. So much easier to go one by one. You do it like you would start off your own family tree on your desktop software. You start with yourself and go back to your parents and then your grandparents. But then along the way there are all sorts of categories like one place studies and one name studies that you can link to. And you're online. Right. Blogger, my favourite. I'm sorry, Kim, I'm a blogger aficionado because it's free. My favourite word. It doesn't expire, so if you created a blogger blog and then gave it up and didn't come back to it for 3 years, it will still be there and still yours. If you want to have red text and red headers and purple links, you can have them for free. I would recommend it for beginning bloggers because, Kim, although you said WordPress was simple, I'm afraid I have to disagree there. I think because there are so many things you're not allowed to do if you're working on something free. It's a bit of a pain, I find. But it doesn't accept PHP third-party apps like Roots Persona, like TNG. You can't really put trees up there. But you can point your own domain at it, free. It has even more security because it now has the facility to start off your web address with HTTPS, which means another level of security. People can still look at your blog, but it's just much more secure. Wherever you have to buy anything, like or for your bank, the supermarket, they've all got HTTPS. That's something to look out for. Now, the next few are just for you to get an idea of what they can look like. You don't have to read any of the text because it's far too small anyway. We start off with a plain white blog, no static pages, nothing really at all, nothing fancy about it, it's white and there's text on it. Right, and the next one gets a little bit more fancy because at the top against the red arrow, which in my slideshow moves around, it's fun, you can see there are static pages at the top. What I mean by a static page is it's not like a blog post where you write in the morning what you had for breakfast and then you write the next day what you had for breakfast the next day. These are pages with just information that's not going to change unless you really want to change it. Like I've got information pages on there about books that I've written. Now, they've been written, so I can't really write anything different about them. I've just written what the plot is. And let's keep going. Here's another blog. You can see at the front there is the blog, a blog post. This particular one is about an apothecary. Where the red arrow is, there are static pages. My privacy policy, which will only change as far back as 100 years goes. So next year, 2017, it'll be 100 years back from then. Here's another sample blog. Here, the static pages list is down the left side where the red arrow is. So you can have it left or top or whatever you want. So when is a blog not a blog? And this is when it's a website built on a blogging platform. You have to choose your priority. Do you want to have people read your daily journal and then go to your content if they have time, but they haven't got time because they've got to go to work, and so, but they'll get to it at some point? That's a blog. Or do you want to have people go straight to your content? So you want a website, or even a blog as a website. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. This is a blog as a website. It's the Southpool One Place Study. It is actually a blogger blog, but the curving arrow in the middle points to what is actually a post. That is the welcome post that stays up there the whole time, and I've configured Blogger only to show one post at a time. Plus it's got a redirect on it, and I'll cover redirects in a couple of slides. On the left, with the red arrow coming in from the left, are the static pages in a list down the left like we saw before. But at the top, with the arrow pointing downwards, it's pointing at another tab, a tab called Blog. But we've already got a blog post. No, this is a blog within a blog. Now this is an actual blog post. Say we've clicked on that tab that says blog, and this is an actual blog post. So I could post here daily about all my research trials and tribulations, where I'm going next, who I'm seeing next, photographs that I've taken, little maps of places that I'm about to go to or have just been to. You can tell that it's a blog post because, as you can see the red arrow pointing down, it's pointing at a date. If it's a static page, there won't be a date, but if it's a blog post, there will be. How did I do that then? Put a blog within a blog. This is a brief how-to, and I mean brief, on making a blogger blog into a website. And so I've taken the Southpool One Place Study blog for the example. Right. You start off by making a completely blank page with the heading of blog. And this is so you can put it in your list. You remember the list down the left hand side, and then it'll show up. Then you make a completely blank test post. You can see my test post here that says page under construction. This is just so that you can see that what you're setting up and how you're doing it is working properly. And the key here is that every post that you make that's going to be a blog post must have the tag blog. Because if you don't, it's going to end up being a page and messing everything up. So remember, you must put the word blog as one of the tags. And here we come to the redirects that we talked about earlier. You have to make 2 redirects. You go to Settings, then Search Preferences, and this is what you enter. You make the 2. One is the top one there, you can see, is so that the welcome post will always be your home page. It'll always be your front page. And the second one is so that every single post that you have tagged with the word blog ends up on the blog page. That single tab that we saw at the top. The other rule that you must remember with these when you make redirects is you need to put the / at the front. You absolutely must, otherwise the redirect won't work. And you have to say, when it says permanent yes, no, you have to say yes, because you're always going to want it to happen. After you've done all that, you press Save Changes, and that's it. That's how easy or difficult it is. So you've now got a blog as a website with a blog tab. So it really depends on your priorities, like I was saying before. If the blog part is more important to you, like it was for the genealogy blog that I used for the A to Z challenge, it was important that it should change every day, and it would be the first thing that people would see. Or are pages more important to you? Are you all right with people landing on your homepage, seeing the welcome post which they've read a million times before, so they go straight to the static pages on the left?
Hey, Roz,
Yes.
I see that Wesley can't talk, and he's asked a question that says, can you point the redirects to specific pages?
I'm not entirely sure that you would want to, because what you're going to want to do, all you want to do is redirect the front to, say, the blog page. After that, you can search within that part. If you're going to say to somebody else, have a look at my page on, I don't know, antique vases, then you're not going to want a redirect that is permanently going to go to your antique vase page. Not a redirect. You would give the person a link to your antique glass vase page, not a redirect. At least I think so.
So how many blogs have you got, Roz?
About 10.
All for different subjects?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
I just like starting them up. And doing lots of different things, and when I get bored with one, I just move on to another one. All right then, there you are. That's my presentation for this evening. I hope you've got something out of it. Kim, shall we go back to what you were talking about?
Well, let me ask you this, Roz.
Yeah.
What you're a blogger at heart, I see.
Oh yes.
What kind of traffic do you get on through Blogger?
What? Sorry, I missed that. What kind of
traffic do you get?
Oh, well, the main the blog that I used for the A to Z challenge,
Yeah.
it's nearly 50,000.
Wow.
Some of the younger ones, shall we say, like a couple of them I only created specially for the A to Z challenge, so that, and they've only had a couple of thousand. If you want to go on Twitter as well to link everything up, my Twitter feed shot up to 92,000 in that A to Z challenge month. It's probably dropped right down again now to like a dozen a day, if that. But it did shoot up for that challenge.
Do you want to turn your screen share off, Ross, so we can see your smiley face?
I see. Right. Right. Screen share. Now, how do I switch it off? Oh well, you can see me by the look of it. I take it you can see me. I can see
Oh,
me.
yes, we can see it.
Right. So, did anybody enjoy that? Was it useful to anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I found it interesting because I've got a website but no blog, and I keep thinking about it and I keep putting it off for something to do when I'm not so busy.
Well, it's
And
like
I don't really want one separate. I want one that can bolt onto my existing website.
right. Yes, because I was thinking if you have a blogger blog, it's free. So if you do it for a couple of weeks and then think, no, this isn't really for me, then you just don't anymore.
Yeah, I think that's my probably my biggest problem with blogging. I just can't stick with them. I can't, I can do static pages and put my records up, put my stories up. I get through 3 blogs, and then that's like 3 months later I think about, oh, I better get another one up type thing. I just am not in the habit of it, or kind of. I am now. Finally, I got on Facebook last year, and I'm monitoring that, and it's really nice because I don't have to be contributing very often. I can see what's going on, but I just have not had any success at all keeping a blog current.
Yeah. Well, when I
Time lapse
started,
from nice.
I was posting every day, but I mean the last posts I made were sort of the end of May, and nobody is ever going to say to you, you must do this. You can do it once a week, once a month, once every other month. It's entirely up to you.
But how do you get consistent followers then? I mean, like,
Well, yeah, it's difficult. It depends on what you're after. Do you want it to be in the 92,000s mark, or couldn't you care less? I mean, if they see it, they see it. Oh gosh, how nice. You know, it doesn't worry you.
Can you hear
have
me
you
while I'm
found that you get good
speaking?
contacts for aspects of your one-place study through the blog?
Um, Not terribly many so far, but I'm just thinking maybe there's somebody out there who happens upon it, who doesn't feel a deep burning need to get in touch with me, but they know that it's there and they think, oh, right, I'll bookmark that site, come back to that if I need to. That's really what I'm doing it for, is not necessarily because I desperately want to find people. It's to help other people if they happen across me. It's more along the lines of what you were saying, the preservation, like you were talking about.
Pam, do you have a question that you want to ask?
I was, can you hear me speaking now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Oh, right. Oh, that's good. I'm just very interested in your presentation. I've got several options of everything. I have a blog within my website. I'm not really using it effectively because I'm just not, I'm just interested to see how often you blog because certainly can't keep up with it every day, and every week would be an issue really. So I certainly find it very useful to use the Facebook page. I think that's extremely interactive. And I don't know about you all, when you're a one-namer, people are asking you for things all the time. But with an actual one-place website, I found that people are donating things. So I found that the most effective so far. But really, I'm trying to reach people who are interested in my study, and I'm not too sure how to do that. Have you got any recommendations?
Well, I would suggest making a Facebook page.
Yes, I do have one of those.
Right. Because I was thinking, that's quite good sort of advertising, if you like.
Yes, it's how to get it around.
Have you got a link on your Facebook page to your website?
Yes, I've got my own personal Facebook page, and then I have a One Place Study page attached to that.
And you're not getting contacts for your study through that, Dan?
Yes, I'm getting a few, but I'd like to. I don't know who these people are really. I don't know, if they're interested. They must be interested in the study, but I'd really like to target find people who've got Rillington family history or are interested in the village. We're putting on a few community events, and I'd like to advertise that. I've got a Twitter. I tweet. I'm absolutely avid tweeter, and I do put things out on there. But I feel as though people aren't using Twitter as much as they used to a few years ago. But I just wondered, how you got your followers, how you did it.
Well, when I got, if we're talking about the Twitter followers, I posted every day just during April. I mean, I tweet other times when I feel like it, when I suddenly remember, oh yes, I've got a Twitter account. But during April, I tweeted every day. Now that went to my followers. No, they're not terribly many, but then of course they've got their followers, and so it was a sort of a ripple effect. I mean, if I just thought of it as my followers, I wouldn't have got very far because my followers are not very many. I think it's just a question of you put things out on everything you can think of. I mean, even put pictures on Pinterest, something like that. People might pick it up. Remember that the more frequently you touch a page to do something to it, that's when the search engine Google will think, aha, right, I might put her on my page 1 or page 2 of results. If
Is
a
that
page
what
hasn't,
you call an SEO? Is that
yes,
the search engine optimization thing?
Well, it's one of the things that you can do. I mean, if you leave a page for ages and ages and ages, it'll slip down in the rankings and you won't be found.
What tends to happen, Pam, if you only post, say, every 6 months, or to make a change every 6 months, then the Google robots that come along will come along after 2 months and think, oh, she hasn't made anything, changed anything, I'll come back in a while. Whereas if you're posting regularly or making changes regularly, the robots will come back quicker.
Okay.
That's more the key on the SEO is how much activity is on your site, how many people are coming to your site is what's going to keep you up in the ratings. But I was really surprised, Roz. I just started, I don't know, I decided to start another website a week or two ago. Certainly less than 2 weeks ago. and it's just got a few things on it so far. I've only just started it. And doggone if I didn't do a Google search, and it's like all over the front page.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, I haven't even like kind of turned this. I've just got a few pages. I got like a welcome page and a contact and all this stuff that says under construction.
Yeah.
Because I figured it would be some time building up, but I was shocked that it was already being picked up.
If you have, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
we-
Yeah, I got rid of the headphones when I saw so many people not using them, and problem. Yeah, I have TNG. I have server space through, I bought it, and I use TNG. And in the logs in TNG, you can see all of the crawlers going through, and it's just constant. I mean, they dwarf the number of individual people actually looking at my site. The crawlers are just constantly in there.
And in my Blogger blog statistics, you can see which countries and which URLs your visitors came through. And yeah, you get the occasional ones. Do you think that's Russian? That's Russian, and that's Russian. But I was I was quite moved to see all the different places that people are coming from and finding me, little me.
Yeah, but a lot of that is not. It's not stuff looking for you.
No.
A lot of it's hackers. And I think Russia and Ukraine show up on all the websites that I deal with. Russia and Ukraine feature very high on the list.
Oh,
But they're
yes, yes.
the
Well,
most oddest names for what sites they're coming from.
yeah.
Well,
Yes, oh yes. The Russian ones are usually the spam ones.
yeah.
Not wishing to sound racist or anything, but oh
No,
boy.
no, just look at the statistics. Yeah. But,
So Wesley, you don't use blogging then? You just have a website?
Yeah, my health is not. I can't count on myself, so I cannot count on myself doing a blog or trying to keep up with a Facebook page or anything like that. So I put the things out there. I probably have somewhere in the ballpark of 15 TNG websites now. Different branches, the Dutch family, the German family, the Lebanese family, two Mexican ones, and so they're all TNG websites, all living on the same server space that I have. I have one domain name, and everything lives under that domain name.
Yeah. I have
Sounds
got
to me
a
like, Wesley, you need
website.
to talk to Peter Cooper, because he loves TNG. You'd have a
Yeah.
lot in common.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. I use it though only for snapshots. I keep my master trees on Ancestry, and then like just yesterday, my Celtic Roots tree, I downloaded it from Ancestry and uploaded it to the TNG site, and it's a total replace. It has the drawback that if people have captured a URL, they've set up a shortcut or something to some one individual person in the tree, it might be that when I do the complete replace, that URL points to a totally different person than the one that they had in their shortcut. So it has that drawback. But I guess people do use PNG as their master version, but I don't.
see, one of the things I wondered about, and Roz, when you were talking about the wiki trees and the FamilySearch tree, which I found quite interesting, but also with the TNG sites, is I confess that I have not even really got the concept of trees for one-place studies entirely shaped in my head. I have no problem with tree. I got tons of big trees for my one name studies and stuff, but I'm really struggled to think about. I've got tons of records for my community and stuff, but I struggle to think about trying to capture that in, say, family tree software, because I've got a very mobile community. People come and go. What do I do with the parents who aren't born there? What do I do with the children who leave, or the sibling who's born in another place? How far do I extend the study? Do I just concentrate on a handful of things? I really struggle to this day.
This is something that I've had to deal with in my St. Blazey study in Cornwall, because the time period of the 1820s to the 1840s, it was especially mobile. You had a lot of people coming in and a lot of people leaving. So what I have primarily done is said that, okay, I will go back one generation prior and try and find out where they came from and see if the families, you know, for example, if I have two different Nichols families in the St. Blazey data that I've found so far, you know, are those really one family that came from Crowan or something like that? That's the primary reason that I will go back, is to try and see if I can link up families that wound up in St. Blazey. With the descendants, I generally try to do the same thing, just one generation after St. Blazey, but people keep sending me stuff from all over the world because, you know, the Cornish diaspora was very real, and so some of them are greatly expanded beyond that, but generally it's just one generation before and one generation after, so that the focus is on St. Blazey.
I think that's why Wikitree is so useful, because on a single person's profile, you don't just have one category, like one link to the Southpool One Place study. Say they were born in Southpool, they married in Kingsbridge, and they died in Dartmouth. You can put all three categories on there. So they can be copied, as it were, to all three One Place studies, which means you don't have to limit yourself. Sorry?
I can't picture loading that kind of thing one by one. You know, when you're talking about thousands of people, and I can't even begin to fathom how then you're going to keep that up. So I have, for my one name studies, obviously I've got family tree software, and I can toss those GEDCOMs wherever I want, or toss out pedigree reports, whatever I want to do. But I just could never imagine one by one online adding all those people. It's just beyond me to think of that.
The way I do it, I put it all in my family tree software. And for instance, if I'm been transcribing some baptisms and I've got a dozen children born to the same parents, I have them in as a little tree on their own, not connected to anything. And sometimes you can't really tell if you've got the Fred Bloggs. You can't tell whether the Fred Bloggs that's the father of these 12 children is the same Fred Bloggs as married Mary Jones. And so sometimes they'll end up as two separate trees. But whatever I do in my family tree software gets uploaded as a tree to my website. And
you use
like Wesley,
Susie?
I use the Master Genealogist is my family tree software.
But what do you use for your website presence?
I use some software that's specific for the Master Genealogist that takes the data from my database direct and converts it into web pages. And then I add all my static pages around those dynamic links. And like Wesley, go back a generation after, before they came into the village, and generally a generation after they've left the village.
So do you guys find you have loads of people in your trees who are just one generation, or maybe one or two?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my place, I've got, it's Devon, but it's right next to Cornwall Wesley, and I know about the Cornish Exodus very well. But I've got about, for every 10 years through the 1800s in my place, I've got about at least 1/3 of my community turning over. And I just wondered if that's what my tree would look like. It's all these individual records.
I must be very lucky because the people in my one place stayed there for hundreds of years. They never moved. So I can work through generations and think, oh, so and so, oh, I recognize him, and I've been transcribing the parish registers, and I'm recognizing names, and when someone gets, when they're born, when they get married, and their children, and I recognize them. Because they're all there,
It becomes
for
more
ages.
personal then, doesn't it?
Hmm?
It becomes more personal then. You feel a sort
Yes,
of kinship with
definitely.
them.
Yes. Yeah, I think, oh,
I must,
look, there's Charity and there's Roger.
I
I
must
have
say
some of
I
that.
don't use family trees as such. And I suppose with being a novice one-place study, I've started to look at things from the actual development of the village more than family trees. You know, the genealogy is kind of incidental and it's lovely, but I'm not focusing on the trees as such. You know, we're taking sort of sections of the village and, trying to find what deeds we can find for each house and whether they were in a land valuation survey or something like that. And, if we come across the names, that's a bonus. But I'm not sort of treating it like a genealogy project in that way. There are names coming up that are notable families in the village, and we may well start to look at that later. But I guess I'm not doing it that way round. Does everybody sort of as a
It works
genealogy
both ways.
project?
Sorry?
It works both ways for me because I get a lot of queries from people who are living now in St. Blasey and saying, who used to live in my house?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to get on to the deeds and who lived here and who lived where. I guess I'm coming at it from a family tree sort of
Mm.
perspective, because that's what I've been doing for all these years.
Mm.
And so a one place study is me branching out and doing something different.
Mm.
I do mine like yours, Pam. I don't have any family trees on my site. Now, I haven't done nearly as good a job as exploring the places you have, but I have high hopes. But I do have a lot of records on my site, and if people want to search for a surname
Mm.
through those records, they can do so. And I do get contacts of people looking for are providing information. I don't get a lot of contacts, but I get contacts, people providing information on families and where they went to or came from. But I've taken my site also from probably more of a place and records perspective.
Mm.
Probably because I can't figure out how to deal with the trees.
Yes. Yes, a lot of people to deal with. As I get all the deeds and the wills, names are cropping up out of it, and I'm formulating a database. But I guess it's more about the records than anything, and it's just very interesting to see how people, how people run their studies. And it's coming out through the blogging bit. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
How about you, Candace? How do you do it? You're very quiet out there.
Well, I had my microphone muted. Well, I have a combination. I have a website which has a blog built into it on WordPress. So, but because my website, my one place study and my family are so intertwined, I have an awful lot of family, so I've got trees that do deal with that, but I've also got a lot of information about other people in the village, and it's mostly coordinated right now through the cemetery part of my website, because I have a page for every person who's buried in the cemetery, and all of the information that I accumulate about that person goes on that page.
And do you hold that in Family Tree software, Candace, or do you build those pages one by one?
I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do. I have Family Tree software myself on my own computer, but I haven't figured out exactly what I want to upload to the website. So right at the moment, I don't have anything. I'm probably going to have a link to a public tree somewhere rather than try to embed it in my site.
I'm a little curious because although we've now moved to Malta, I'm making a trip back in August to England just to come and do that photographing of the cemetery that I didn't get around to years I lived in England. So I was curious how you were dealing with that. I am going to get those pictures.
Well, we just went through last fall. We hired a cemetery restoration expert and restored 45 stones that had been damaged in our cemetery. So I've been getting photographs, readable photographs now of all of them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's wonderful, yes.
And I got a contact in the States, and he said, hey, I had transcribed all the burial records for the parish from 1555 to present. And he said, if you send me those transcripts, which were in Excel spreadsheets, he said, I'll put them all on Find a Grave. And he's done that, which has just been wonderful. But he's still waiting on me to provide all those photographs. So.
Yes.
So Candice, do you live close to your one place study?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you live near your one place study?
Yes, I live very near. I'll be there Monday.
Okay.
It's only a 2.5-hour drive.
Oh, right. Kim coming across the world.
Yes, it's a little more difficult for some of them.
Yeah.
Well, I brought it on myself. I have enjoyed several years now with my one place study, only living an hour away from it. I've just complicated matters a little bit.
Has anybody got any more questions for Roz? Well, we've just gone 9:10, so if you're all happy, I'll stop the broadcast, and then if you want to carry on chatting, you can. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roz.